Alright, it is time to do a camera comparison between the iPhone 15, 16 and the latest and greatest from Apple, the iPhone 17. Now what you're looking at is 4K cinematic video straight out of the main lens of each of these cameras, as well as their microphone quality. So let me know in the comments down below which video looks better and which audio sounds better. With that out of the way, we'll take a look at tons of photos and videos to compare portrait shots, main lens shots, ultrawide shots, and a bunch of videos as well to see if the iPhone 17 has improved by a lot or not. With that out of the way, let's take a look at some portrait shots. Now shout out to my dad for wanting to be a part of this video. The first photo is from the main lens at 1x zoom, and right away we can notice all phones producing a very similar shot. The only common area of struggle is the fence, which no iPhone got right. Some of it is blurry while some of it is not. Other than that, perfect colors, contrast, dynamic range, and edge detection. The next image at 2x zoom is where we start to notice slight differences. All these iPhones continue to struggle with the fence, but if you notice closely, the 15 has the top of the cap blurry, and so does the 16, but not as much, while the 17 does appear to be perfect. Other than that, just a minor thing I noticed is that the 15's photo is a tiny bit less saturated than the others. The next shot is a bit tricky in the sense that there's a lot of foliage in the background, plus I wanted to see how these phones handle the sunglasses. Edge detection is pretty solid throughout except for the hair, where the 17 appears to be the best. However, the temples or the handles of the sunglasses are blurred in the 16 and 17 shot. Surprisingly, the 15 actually did way better than the other two. The phones also struggle with the edges of the arms of the shirt. Now the next image is where the 15 and 16 struggled with edge detection around my right ear. It is basically blurred, and the left ear on all phones is slightly better than the right one, but it is still not perfect. At 2x zoom, I did notice the edge detection was fairly better. Now it could also be due to the fact that the subject is now closer to the phone, so edge detection automatically becomes slightly easier, but anyways, rest of the portrait shots are pretty much following the same formula, which is similar color reproduction, edge detection issues, contrast, and dynamic range. Honestly, I can't really pick and choose from either of these phones. Moving on to some non-portrait shots. Now initially I was thinking of skipping these, but then I thought why not, cause sometimes the background is beautiful and you do not want it blurred. So here we are. The non-portrait shots are pretty much a replica of each other. I have included the shots from all three sensors, so 0.5x, 1x, and 2x. Now 1x and 2x are basically identical because the sensors are the exact same between these three phones, and I mean literally the exact same. Of course, color science will vary as the latest iPhones have an evolved Photonic Engine, but even then there's only so much it can do. Nonetheless, the 0.5x shots are interesting because that's where we have a 48 megapixel sensor for the first time in the iPhone 17. While the images might not look that different on YouTube, they certainly do feel more sharp when comparing in real life. The 0.5x of the iPhone 17 also seems to produce slightly more punchier colors and also higher contrast than the other two. Now since we were just discussing the ultrawide, let's take a look at some random day-to-day ultrawide shots. The 15 and 16 share the same sensor with just one minor difference, which is the 16 having a wider aperture, so ideally it should be producing slightly brighter shots. The 17, as mentioned earlier, has a 48 megapixel sensor and produces higher res images at 18 megapixel compared to the 9 of the other two. In real world though, there's not a lot that's different. In most scenarios, you can see the phones have access to plenty of light, so the shots do look identical. Just like with the non-portrait shots, the 17 does produce slightly contrasty shots, which I do prefer in some cases. I also noticed the iPhone 16 produced slightly weird colors in a couple of photos, like the one with the yellow jacket and the Starbucks logo. I can probably call these as one-off because I didn't notice them in any other photos. Also, the 17 has the option to take larger 48 megapixel shots, which will look even better in real life. For now, all shots taken here are at default 24 megapixel resolution. With that, let's move on to the main camera. As discussed before, the main sensor on these iPhones is the exact same. As such, I honestly cannot tell these images apart. I mean, if I remove the labeling, you probably could think that these are the shots from the exact same iPhone replicated thrice, and I wouldn't blame you. What I will say though is that the shots look terrific. I mean, the contrast, dynamic range, detail, sharpness, color reproduction, everything is on point. With such great sensors and the Photonic Engine, you can probably get great shots like 9 out of 10 times. There were only 2 instances where I noticed the iPhone 15 had slightly weird colors or had like a tint effect. It's in this photo with the clock and the next one with the tree. And that's about it. Other than that, I'm thoroughly pleased with the results from the main sensors. Now while we take a look at these photos, let me also do the usual subscribe plug. Subscribe to the channel so I can reach 20,000 subscribers this year. I also have a bunch of camera comparisons coming very soon between the iPhone 12, 13, 15, 16 and 17. Okay, time to move on to some 2x telephoto or optical zoom shots. Now since the main sensor is the exact same, don't expect any wonders from the 2x optical zoom. Even then, I took a bunch of shots just to see if there was any difference in how the photo is processed. Turns out, there isn't. The photos look the exact same without any differences. Now I've loved using the telephoto lens on the Pro Max iPhones, and it's great to see some sort of zoom capability on the non-Pro iPhones. Maybe in the future we can get like a 3x zoom or something on the non-Pro iPhones. With the rear cameras out of the way, let's move on to the front camera. Now as we all know, the front selfie camera of the iPhone 17 has been talked about so much, and rightfully so. Obviously, I cannot compare the full width selfies because the 15 and 16 cannot do that, but what we can do is compare the simple portrait photos. Now right away you can notice the iPhone 17 has a wider field of view, which is really good. Other than that, everything else is pretty much the same. The 17 does tend to produce more detailed shots due to a higher res sensor. Honestly, it is great to see Apple not gatekeep the selfie sensor from the non-Pro iPhone. Next up, we have some low light photography. The shots do look nice from all the sensors out of each of these iPhones. As expected, the iPhone 17 produces sharper and slightly brighter shots with its 48 megapixel ultra-wide sensor. The differences aren't miles apart, but still something you'll notice when putting these phones side by side. The main and 2x shots are pretty much the exact same. One thing I wanted to notice was if there's been any improvement in light flares during nighttime photography. While it's still an issue with the iPhone 17, I did notice it ever so slightly less pronounced than the 15 and 16. Other than that, with a decent amount of light, these phones can produce good results. In terms of video performance, we've already taken a look at the cinematic video, but let's also see the rest of the sensors. Now I noticed that the iPhone 16 seems to have much better color output than the other two, and it seemed really weird. All the settings were the exact same across all these iPhones, so I did make another nighttime video to confirm, and it seems like the earlier one was just a weird coincidence. Maybe it was just the white balance, but rest of the details are similar across these iPhones. Now depending on how much light there is, the nighttime video can either be passable or just really bad. Now front selfie video is mostly the exact same except for the fact that the 17 has a wider field of view and it can also take landscape video. This honestly makes a huge difference, especially if you are a content creator. And that's it for the camera comparison. As you can see from a purely camera comparison review, the 17 isn't that far ahead of the 15 and 16. The two major selling points are the ultrawide and the front camera. I personally love the upgraded selfie shooter and the fact that you can take sharper and more detailed shots with the ultrawide lens. Now let me know what you think about the comparison in the comments down below, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you all soon in the next one.